Hello and welcome to Sports Fan Entertainment. And as I'm still working on getting my draft grades video together, I wanted to make this video real quick as Rand Carthon did confirm that the Tennessee Titans are going to go ahead and look for a free agent safety. So I decided, you know what? That actually sounds like a good video. And also, after I make my draft grade video and then we enter pretty much what's like a dull period when it comes to news and everything, I'm also going to discuss some other positions as well because I would like, and I don't know if we're going to do it, but I'd like to also get an edge if possible and maybe a wide receiver. So those are two other videos that I think I'll make because after this upcoming week, yeah, no one's really going to want to keep talking about the draft because there may be like film analysis and stuff like that. So that's when we just enter like a lull period until like, May and the mini camps, the OTAs and all that stuff. So today, top 5 safety targets for the Titans in free agency. And Rand Carthon had it on point. I mean, if you were going to ignore a position in the draft, a position of need, and technically they took a safety, but they're going to move him to linebacker in James Williams, then this was the position to do it. Because there are 5 guys here that I wouldn't mind any of them starting for us. Now, the only problem is they're all over 30. And as someone who's approaching 30, I'm only 27, that scares me when people are like, oh my God, they're all over 30. But, this is the NFL. And luckily at safety, you can get away with that. I mean, safety is one of those positions where you don't have to maintain your quickness for too long, as opposed to like cornerback or wide receiver or other positions. But then it's also not like an offensive tackle where you can go for even longer. And now even quarterback with how they're protected. So you can deal with an older safety. 30-year-old safety is not going to, screw you over. And ultimately, you can see why they let go of Byard because Byard at this point is on par with all of these guys, and they saved so much money doing so and got draft picks in the mix. So we start with, and let's go actually the least obvious choice to the most obvious because I think you guys know where I'm going to go based on the thumbnail. Let's start with DeShawn Gibson. So this is the former free safety now. Now, he's been a journeyman. He's been for a lot of teams now, but the last 2 years for the San Francisco 49ers, 1 year of which was with Rand Carthon. So Rand Carthon has some familiarity there, and again, he is a veteran. So he is turning 34 right before the season. Okay, that's pretty old. But he still played pretty damn well last season and even better the year before that. I mean, bringing him in is one of the things that really helped to elevate that defense, in my opinion. I think at this point, they're just looking to go younger. And that's why they had no problem letting him go. And maybe, who knows, they could still bring him back. But there's familiarity there. It's someone they could bring in for sure. Just a 1-year rental. You wouldn't expect him to come back for more. But you could get, this isn't a safety, but you can get a Patrick Peterson type nice year out of him. And maybe he comes in here and does something even at an advanced age at 34. But he will be 34. And that's one of the reasons why he is a free agent. So DeShawn Gibson. We move on to, and this won't be surprising, but Micah Hyde. So Micah Hyde was released from the Buffalo Bills, and I'm surprised that he's still out there. Now, he was injured most of 2022. He got injured early that season. Last year, though, played well, but really was just a cap casualty for the Buffalo Bills. Now, I presume he's a free agent because, I mean, now he's one of the guys that I mentioned. I think it should be 31. I think he's 31 throughout most of the season. I think he turns 32 in December, but I think he thinks his value is higher than it should be because he's played at a high level for, I mean, now what, a decade? I mean, he's been one of the main parts. He and Jordan Poyer were the two main parts of that defense for the Bills for a while. I mean, they were a strong unit for the Bills, and, unfortunately, it's just an end of an era there, and one of the reasons I think the Bills are going to take a step back, but this is a veteran guy, a guy that also has experience playing strong safety as well if you want to solo move him around and do things like that. Another guy that would be a great choice for the Titans for sure. We look at the next name on the list, and this is a name that is also getting a little forgotten in Adrian Amos. Now, he's actually turned into somewhat of a movable piece because he spent time, he was initially with the Bears, and he stayed in division, moved to Green Bay, and then last year spent some time with the Jets, and he can't really find a spot right now. But from all the quarters of what I saw, he played fine. So I'm not really sure what the issue is. I've never really had a big problem with him as a player. I don't think he's ever been great, but he's been solid in his career, and he's younger than the two guys that I mentioned. Again, not by much when it comes to Hyde, but yes, then when it comes to Gibson, and he's solid. He's always been a solid. He just can't find a spot though. It seems like every time his contract ends, he just has to move on. So I don't know if there's like maybe problems that he has maintaining relationships with some of these teams, which maybe be a reason for that. But that's another name listed here. We move on to the next name, Eddie Jackson. So Eddie Jackson, this is a guy that, man, this guy was solid for the Bears for years and was really underrated for years. I mean, when the Bears, well, and I was going to say when they were mediocre, but they've been mediocre. Really, like last year, they were just awful. But I'm talking about like 2017, 18, 19. I think one of those years, maybe they were good under Mitchell Trubisky. Like, I guess it was like 2018. But still, in the doldrums for the Bears, they really weren't doing much. He was always a solid part of that defense. And I still think he has something to take. He's not really being talked about. When I looked at the Pro Football Focus rankings of free agent, he was, out of the 45 guys that listed, he was 45, which I thought was strange because I thought he's still a better safety than some of the other guys that they mentioned above him. Like, they're not going to be on this list because they're strong safeties, and also I think he's just better, like a Jerron Curse or Adrian Phillips and some other guys like that. So I wasn't seeing that. So Eddie Jackson is a guy that I look at as well. But number one, and we've already talked about him on this channel, Justin Simmons. This is absolutely the guy that you would want. Again, the Broncos are trying to get younger, and that's why they were having the whole fire sale, and also DeShawn Payton's going local. By the way, tell me in the comments, this is a little off subject, but I really want to know people's opinions on this, because I think the Broncos are awful. Will Sean Payton survive a 3-14 season? I guess they paid him so much he has to, but it's going to be the worst start I've ever seen for two seasons and for a coach to keep his job. I mean, and I think it's going to happen. I think the Broncos are going to be that freaking bad, but they just took a quarterback, Bo Nix, so I think they're just going to swallow it. But it's bad. But so they're just having a fire sale in Denver. They got rid of Jared Judy. They got rid of Ross Wilson, who actually was playing decent for them. They're probably still might get rid of Cortland Sutton. If they're crazy, they might get rid of Patrick Surtain, and Justin Simmons got caught up in the mix of that. But again, I still think he has enough in the tank, and for 1 year just to come in here and solidify the free safety position and move Amani Hooker back to his natural strong safety role. And you can still, move these guys around, by the way. You don't have to necessarily pigeonhole them. I would absolutely 100% do full steam ahead towards Justin Simmons. We still have plenty of cap room. There's really no reason not to do this. I mean, at the very least, this is my stance. I mean, maybe some of you guys are crazy, and I know some of you guys are crazy, and you want to win the Super Bowl this year. I still want to compete for the playoffs, and maybe we make it. And that's a huge leap for this team under a young quarterback like Will Levis. And Justin Simmons would be the perfect guy on top of this defense in order to do that, to help round out the secondary that now features L'Jarius Sneed, that now features Chidobe Awuzie. To add Justin Simmons to the mix would be absolutely fantastic. So any of these 5 names, I'm cool with. All of them have actually been playing relatively well. Not one of them has had a season where you're like, oh my God, this guy's falling off a cliff. They all have some more in the tank. The one that I listed first was DeShawn Gibson. So if you think, okay, he's just too old, we just can't have a 34-year-old like that's too old, I get it. So I would understand it from that standpoint, but 100% sign one of these guys, because Elijah Molden, I mean, he can make plays, and I still think there's more potential in him. But going into the season with Hooker and Molden, you're asking for a little bit of trouble. Now, luckily, we have Awuzie and Sneed now who are not going to get beat too often, but I'd like to have a safety blanket, and we're actually trying to win games. We're like the Falcons, but we're actually trying to win games, and we're not drafting a rookie quarterback and signing a Kirk Cousins like a bunch of morons. So hopefully one of these guys will be signed, and I think one of them will be signed relatively soon because I'm expecting their safety market to pick up. So ultimately, we'll see what they will do. So comment down below what you think the Titans will do. Which of these safeties would you sign? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe. This has been MJ of Sports Fan Entertainment, and I'm out. See you all later.